Hello everyone and welcome to Unfiltered. My name is Matthew. I'm your host. And in today's video, we are going to be discussing 3 stories that I have selected to talk about. Why? Because I really don't have anyone else to talk to them about. So, hopefully you enjoy and will engage in some conversation with me and let me know your thoughts. So our first story is to talk about Michael Fishman of The Conners. He played DJ on the series, and of course from Roseanne. And it was recently announced in an article that he would not be returning for season 5. Later, Michael clarified himself that he was asked not to return to the show for season 5. I guess when the creators of the show were reached out for comment, they indicated that the actor would come back as a guest appearance. So that leads to further discussion in regards to this. Well, one, I guess just right off the bat, a lot of people are going to advise, should Michael really, informed everyone that he was asked not to return? And I think you could take that either way, but I think that, why not? I mean, he's being honest. It's the truth of what happened with the matter. Maybe it doesn't bode well for future projects. Now, Michael did indicate that he was able to direct a few episodes, and he's excited of where that's going to bring him in his career. But looking at this story a little deeper, there could be many reasons for this. One, the ratings for The Conners has dropped with each season. And a lot of that has to do with the writing, right? But with the ratings going down, obviously that's going to attribute towards a slimmer budget. So you're going to have to make some cuts on the creative side in front of and behind the camera. I think that this also brings up the larger discussion that the show really never knew what to do with many of their characters. And also specifically DJ, since that's what this story is about. Now, many may say that Michael was not a great actor, in their comments of why they would let him go, and that's probably why it didn't lead to much development for the character. But I think that if we take a step back and we look at lots of the other characters, you'll see that many of them have not had the best stories. And also, I guess as far as the acting in the show, if you really want to say, where Michael was compared to the other actors, actually, there's the way the characterizations and the way that they all played in the same world that was written, Michael was right kind of on the same level as everyone else. So you had Becky in the original series of Roseanne, who was smart and, made poor choices and became, confrontational Roseanne. And then in The Conners, you get to see that she, lost her husband, which makes sense because the actor who played her husband, Mark, had passed away. And you get to see that they really don't know what to do with the character. You constantly see her, switching jobs, and you get to see that, as far as dating and finding herself and going to school, there's not much there. I mean, she makes lots of jokes, but you never get to really see too much into Becky. And Darlene, as far as a character, always in Roseanne was kind of the person you thought was going to be when she grew up, basically Roseanne, But you get to see with Darlene, she's become, a completely different person than when she was younger. She's more, I would say, more like Sarah Gilbert than maybe Darlene. So, I mean, she's trying to, balance her family and all those other things. And then you have Dan, who I also feel that the show is struggling with. And I think that the show is struggling with all the characters, to be honest. I mean, he used to be the leader of the family or someone who, took care of everyone else. And they did discuss that, him transitioning out of that. But even his behaviors and everything and the way the character has been moved more to a background character where Darlene's taking the front, but Darlene keeps going in and out of her relationship. And that's one of the things with the show. It keeps on dealing with the same thing. I feel like the show, like Roseanne, knew how to laugh with the audience, and really relate, oh my God, that's so true about, budgeting and things like that. But it seems like the show, The Conners, really, some things don't make sense from my standpoint, coming from a person who's, you know, middle income and or to low income, right? Middle to low, and like Darlene getting her house and buys a house only to tear it down so she build a new house, and to me that doesn't seem really realistic, because with lumber prices and everything, like how's this all logistically possible? Yes, her father, does know how to build, and that saves money on that side, but I just feel like the way that they did it, and it's just a complicated convolutedness of it, doesn't really make it relatable at all. And then Jackie, who before in Roseanne was this character who you could look at as far as like she was there for the kids. Yes, she was a little unstable relationships in her relationship with her mother, but for the most part, like when the family needed her, and she was always really ambitious and a career and all that. But when they were in trouble, like she offered to write Dana a check and Roseanne, and now you get to see Jackie as this person who was been overtaken by her just being a crazy character, who's really led her to be a little more annoying and not as enjoyable as she used to be in Roseanne. So as far as like, DJ, you know, he would basically sit there throughout all these crazy things happening to the characters and really going nowhere. And he would have a few lines here, but you really wouldn't see really development of his story. Other characters would talk more about DJ's development of like, his wife being abroad in the military, him having his daughter, them taking care of his daughter, and then him every now and then appearing just to let the audience know he was still there. And, there were some times I would look and I would like, DJ's just sitting there in the background and just watching everybody else, and then maybe walking out of the room. And, so really, it's not Michael's fault in regards to what happened with DJ. It's really the show and the writers. And that actually leads me to Sarah Gilbert is executive producer on the show. So lots of the involvement of these decisions, I imagine, would need to go through her. So it seems, this would have been a decision that she had to make as well. And I think that early on, before the Connors or Roseanne was brought back, I remember there was an interview with Roseanne Barr and Sarah Gilbert, and Roseanne was like, I'm really hesitant to do the show because, just for everything, but Sarah Gilbert has promised she'll take care of me and everything. And we saw, yes, Roseanne did and said things that got her own self, but it seems like as far as like maybe that promise, maybe I'm not sure if she made it to the rest of the crew, but now DJ is getting screwed over, or Michael Fishman. I think that, he's exiting the show. He was asked not to come back, but not completely his fault. Really, I think the show let him down and the writing of the character. I mean, they let him fade to the background, and unfortunately, the characters they do have are just struggling to really have some development and relatability. I liked when they were actually, Darlene and Becky working in the factory. I was like, oh, look, they're working in a Wellman's factory where their mom worked. But then we kind of backtracked from that, and the show has constantly danced around, what made the original good. It's done like little crumbs and elements of it, but it hasn't found it, thus far. So it's sad to see, Michael exit in this way. I hope that he does well in his career. Hopefully he'll be able to have other opportunities that give him a little more experience. Now, he did say he walked away with the show with, directing experience. He was able to direct some episodes of the show. So that's good for him as far as that experience. It'll be interesting to see, where things go from here for him and really for the show. I'm not sure let's see if it'll be renewed past season 5. So what are your thoughts in regards to this? Should Michael have made that announcement of how he was let go from the show? What do you think about the quality of the Connors? And Michael exiting is just a further sign of trouble for the show. I think so. So moving on to our second stories, just continuing with HBOMAX and crap show that it is down there. And what's terrible is I'm speaking this from a consumer perspective, and me as a consumer knowing it's a crap show and that this product has kind of completely been mishandled is just really shameful. but we're going to dive into it. I mean, right now, there's so many stories coming out that are negative in regards to what's going on at HBO Max and Warner Brothers content. And David Zaslav and Warner Brothers Discovery has said nothing to to the contrary of these stories. So as far as content disappearing and that be related to them not wanting to pay residuals to try to save money and budget cuts. I mean, TV shows and movies being cut just to get tax write-offs. Reality TV being rumored to be a main focus as far as new development and moving towards more unscripted. Job cuts being unbalanced and targeting and eliminating the diversity of talent behind the screen and also shows. Talent being told not to work with Warner Brothers, or if they are currently working with Warner Brothers, being told to abandon ship because it's just a sinking ship right now, as far as lots of talent is being told from their managers. So all these stories and headlines are coming out, and as I stated, not a single peep from David Zaslav to change that direction or narrative, which means that, I mean, you must be accepting it, because if you have nothing to say, you're like, well, I have nothing to really contrary that. I mean, all David has done, like I said, is just sat back and cancel things, and doing everything as far as canceling, all I'm seeing is cancellations are happening on the Warner Brothers side, because I think David doesn't have any idea what to do with any of it. And Discovery, I've seen like things like being promoted of shows, but I haven't really seen any much cancellations or cuts being talked about on the Discovery side. I mean, there's a reason why I didn't get Discovery Plus. It's because I could live without it. So adding it to the HBO Max really does nothing for me. I mean, I saw recently that they had a sale on HBO Max for 30% off, and I mean, you're cutting content. It's almost like selling a shampoo bottle that's 60% smaller and saying, oh, but we're going to mark it as a discount of 30%. Yeah, but it's 60% smaller. Like, I'm still losing out. And that's what I feel with HBO Max. You've kind of cut things for me to look forward to, and as far as content. As far as like what's already on there, you've cut as well. And I'm like, why am I here? Like, what? As far as DC, it always was a mess, and I'm happy to have maybe at least some hope. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's in the right hands right now, Warner Brothers, with all these content cuts. It feels like with all the changes that have been made with HBO Max and all these cuts, and the move towards what the articles have said. There's a lot of been articles that have been talking about like where David Zaslav sees the new Warner Brothers Discovery moving, and it's going to be more towards middle America kind of content, family content, which I kind of feel like, you know what, Discovery might as well have been bought up by Disney, because lots of the moves that they're making are a little more kind of Disney-esque with Bob Chapek as far as like saving money and all those things. I mean, a lot of people are going to say, hey, Disney is moving towards more being woke and everything, but at the end of the day, Disney is a company that makes money, and they know they make a lot of the money off of families. So I think that HBO and David wants a piece of that pie, and he thinks that Discovery, here he gets lots of families, and he can continue that more successfully with Warner Brothers. Probably not the best idea, though. I mean, what do you think about all these news and changes for HBO Max? I mean, at one point, I thought that HBO Max was like was moving up there with Disney Plus and Netflix, and they're indicated to have 76 million subscribers, which has always been like neither here nor there, because it's like hard to know with the HBO subscribers being added to that. But I just imagine the next things we're going to see is like, hey, they're going to be losing subscribers, I imagine, or something's going to happen. So our third story is taking a look also about all these, looking at HBO Max, I've thought about other CEOs who have also been in the news in cutting things, or other companies. So, I mean, Bob Chapek comes to mind, and as far as investors and all that, they've stood behind him in his decisions. I think, but lots of consumers have seen lots of things like not go so well out of, come out of Disney, as far as like their intentional practices to, raise prices and reduce portion sizes of their food, get rid of the meal and dining plans, other things that are just trying to squeeze their consumers. I mean, companies are trying to make money, and unfortunately, it's like at the worst time for families and many people because, inflation and everything costs more, and you're not getting paid much more. So, I don't know. But it seems like NBC Universal have also been making some moves as well. Uh, there's discussions that they're going to be cutting their 10 o'clock hour for NBC and giving it back to their affiliates. And possibly this is a sign of potentially reducing some scripted shows. Now, in one of the articles I read that they said, I think it was ABC executive who indicated that, you could invest in scripted shows on streaming and you have more money towards them and a bigger audience than you would on cable. And it seems that also for NBC and Universal, that for as far as Peacock, that they also have been canceling content as well, and they've indicated that it's moved towards better investment in content. But it's a little hard when you don't really see that investment. This is very reminiscent of like what David Zaslav is doing over at HBOMAX. I'm canceling everything, but don't worry, awesome things are coming. I don't know. I don't believe you. Let's see it. It's weird. I wonder if right now I have my episode 8 review of Queer as Folk, which is the final season of episode of season 1, and it's pending right now if it's going to get a season 2. Things are not holding up so well that it's going to get renewed with the current changes that Peacock is having around canceling shows. However, I did see that Peacock is moving some of the daytime soaps from NBC to their program, the streaming network, and I'm not sure how much audience would actually move to that because I think there's like older audience and people who are not really into streaming. So I wonder how much of the audience will transfer. So this may give, let's say, a show like Queer as Folk an opportunity to still maybe get a season 2 because I'm not sure if that's going to prove as successful as they want it to be. I mean, you see, like, for this also, like, I picture, like, as far as the soap moving, I would probably cut them on both, almost like what Peacock or Paramount Plus did, where Yellowstone is on the Paramount network and it also airs on Paramount Plus. And through there, they probably get good data as far as, like, where the audience is. As far as, like, oh, it looks like we do capture a younger audience, maybe on streaming, or and then also on the network for cable, we're capturing a pretty good audience who's older as well. And I guess also Yellowstone speaks well for as far as conservative content, which from what I'm reading is actually like an untapped market that a lot of Hollywood is moving towards. And I think that's where David Zaslav is trying to move with HBO Max and all that. Now, this also brings me to other companies outside of the entertainment world, but it's interesting just to take a step back because with Disney, they own theme parks and lots of the decisions that they're making as far as budget cutting. But recently, Six Flags has announced also that they're doing some budget cuts. Their CEO recently announced that they're going to kind of take a step back from building new roller coasters and things like that and investing more on the infrastructure of their park, which is like their dining options, their services, and layouts of their park. I don't think this is the best news, and it indicates really the company is probably pretty strapped for cash. I mean, the announcement to remove the dining plan for Six Flags didn't go very well. Of course, that was all triggered from the TikTok trend of like how much you can go to the park every day and get your free meal and never have to, worry about food expenses. And then Six Flags announced they were losing lots of money on the plan, took it away, and recently just brought it back. So we'll see how this move for Six Flags does with taking away the roller coasters. I think it's investment in rides and things of that. Probably smaller rides. You're still going to see some rides that were previously kind of being built be boosted in the news, but these are not from the new CEO. These are all from previous leadership. I also think this is going to hurt Six Flags as far as social media and the news, because usually local affiliates and even national news organizations will talk about a new record-breaking, let's say, roller coaster at a park. I don't think anyone's going to put in the news like, hey, did you know that Six Flags now offers a new sundae with your dining plan? That's not going to be on the news. Or, did you get to see how they repainted this area and planted new shrubs? That's not going to be on the news. Now, the funny thing is that actually I do see some stories like that with Disney parks. Like I'll see like, hey, they took down the fence. What's going on? So, but Six Flags is not that kind of park. They said that they want to invest more on family experiences at the park, but families do cost money to invest and attract. And right now, if you're going to switch Six Flags from a thrill park, let's say, to a family park, your whole park is built for thrill rides. And yes, there's some elements of family with the water park and all that, but how you're going to do a family switch in that capacity without investing in new attractions and rides? Like, a little kid's going to go, Mom, I want to go to Six Flags because they have a cool kids meal. No. So I don't see how this is going to work out for them, because you're taking things away like HBOMAX and like these other companies, and then you're offering nothing new, but you say you're going to attract new people. I don't know. Just poor decisions. I feel like with all these CEOs and all these cuts that everyone's doing, that a woman would probably be better at making these decisions. Like, she would be able to make the cost cuts and keep the customers happier without them knowing that they are getting, cuts and things of that nature. I mean, these men are buying, off brands and giving us cheap quality replacements. It reminds me of like my mom, like, she would make meals, and and if she did have to, make cuts, and things like that. We were none the wiser in regards to it, like with our clothes and where they shopped and everything. Um, but my dad, he was a truck driver, and one time he got like this free cereal, like it was called Triples, and it looked like ant eggs, and they were like three different colors of like wheat, like kind of cereal, and they didn't taste like anything. Sorry, I have an itch in my nose. Um, and I definitely knew, like, what all the cuts that my dad was doing to cut corners and save money, that, hey, this cereal tastes like crap. I'm not enjoying it. And, so I think that, like, with these CEOs, is like, the audience and customers know that you're feeding us crap. So that's the problem, is like, you're doing all these cuts and everything. You're making it very apparent, and we're not enjoying it. It's not healthy. It's not a good relationship. It's going to hurt you in the long run. It's going to allow another competitor to really come in and take its place. So we'll see if, like, Universal, as far as the theme parks, is able to offer a better product right now. I mean, Netflix, for everything that they're struggling as far as, like, they're making cuts as well, but it seems like Netflix is in a better position today with the poor choices that everyone's making for it. So more to come in regards to that, and see where these businesses end up. To me, I don't think it's going to bode so well, but I could be wrong. But from a consumer perspective, knowing how I feel, yeah, I think that you're kind of making me go, you know what, I'm okay with saving money. I'm kind of enjoying that. You have nothing to give me? Woo, I got to save money. So what are your thoughts on 3 stories we talked about? What are your thoughts on the recent budget changes and cuts? Do you think that you're actually going to stay with these streaming services? Do you think that these are the right choices right now? I mean, everyone's trying to make, cuts and try to save right now. It makes sense a company would, but of course, they're also trying to, charge you more. So, if you like what you're seeing, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit that notification bell to get notification of other videos as they upcome. Check out our other videos that I've posted on the channel. And as always, I hope that you stay safe, and thank you for watching. Bye.